A woman sits in a chair. Her hands won't stay still. She looks at the camera like she's about to say something she can't take back. Preparing for when Netflix drops a documentary about my soon-to-be ex-husband. The caption reads, "Who I just found out is a pedophile." That video would go on to be watched by millions. But not because of what happened after she posted it online. Because of what happened 13 days later. On a Thursday night in Owasso, Oklahoma, a 911 dispatcher picked up a call. A woman was screaming. Then, a sound the dispatcher would later describe as a gunshot. Minutes after that, a second call came in, this time from a child. He told the dispatcher his stepfather had just shot his mother. When police broke down the door, they found two bodies. Sara Gilson, 43 years old. Her estranged husband, Jeremiah Sean Duffy, 48. Both dead from gunshot wounds. Police are calling it a murder-suicide. But behind that clinical phrase is a woman who tried to protect herself. Protective order. A federal molestation investigation. A public warning that millions saw, and somehow none of it was enough. This is the story of Sara Gilson. What she knew, what she said, and what nobody stopped in time. Before any of this, Sara Gilson was just a mom. She worked as a hairstylist. She built a following on TikTok, the kind of following that comes from being funny, honest, and a little unfiltered, the exact qualities that would later make her final warning feel so real to the people watching it. She had two children, a son and a daughter, and by every account from people who knew her, they were the center of her life. A fundraiser set up for her kids after her death describes her as an incredible mother, someone whose everyday choices, big and small, revolved around her children. Sara had been married before. Her first husband, Lyle Landers, has since spoken publicly about their relationship after her death, including how, in the years since their divorce, he watched her relationship with Duffy from the outside and worried about what he saw. By the summer of 2026, Sara was estranged from Duffy and building a life apart from him. She was posting online, doing her job, raising her kids. On the surface, she was moving forward. What she didn't know, or maybe what she was only just beginning to learn, was how serious the allegations against her husband actually were, and how quickly the ground under her would shift once she found out. Friends and family have since said that leaving wasn't simple. It rarely is. There's a difference between knowing you should walk away and actually being able to, especially when children, finances, and fear are all part of the equation. Sara Gilson was trying. That's the part worth remembering. To understand July 23, 2026, you have to go back 6 weeks earlier. On June 9th, according to police, a girl and her parent reported something disturbing. Duffy, who coached the girls' traveling basketball team, had inappropriately touched her during an event at an elementary school that evening. Another coach reportedly witnessed it and immediately stepped in, then reported it to the girl's parent. Police said afterward that similar conduct by Duffy toward the same player had reportedly happened before, over an extended period in multiple jurisdictions across multiple states. Duffy fled. Police say he wasn't seen again after that night. Because Duffy is a member of the Osage Nation and the incident happened on tribal land, the case fell under federal jurisdiction. Owasso police submitted it to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review, effectively closing the door on any local charge, at least for now. One day after learning this, on June 10th, Sara went to court. She was granted an emergency protective order against Duffy. He was ordered to stay 100 yards away from her and her home at all times. Then, on July 11th, Sara posted the TikTok video, publicly, to tens of thousands of followers, calling her estranged husband a pedophile, in her own words, ahead of what she believed might one day become a documentary about him. 13 days later, on the night of July 23rd into July 24th, officers responded to a domestic violence call at the home. Dispatchers heard screaming, then what sounded like a gunshot. A child called 911 separately, from inside or near the home, saying his stepfather had shot his mother. When police arrived, they found Sara and Duffy both dead of gunshot wounds. Her son was taken into protective custody, and later released to a parent who had no connection to the incident. Police say the evidence points to Duffy killing Sara before turning the gun on himself. They're calling it a murder-suicide, though the investigation is still active. There's only one name at the center of this: Jeremiah Sean Duffy. On social media, he went by Sean. Off camera, he coached a traveling youth basketball team, a role that gave him regular, trusted access to children, and one that police say wasn't the first time concerns had been raised about his conduct with young athletes. According to the police account, the June incident wasn't an isolated one. Investigators said similar behavior toward the same player had reportedly occurred over time, and in more than one jurisdiction. That detail matters because it suggests a pattern rather than a single moment of poor judgment, though it's important to be precise here. These are allegations. Duffy was never convicted of anything. He died before any criminal case could be resolved. The jurisdictional wrinkle is part of what makes this case so frustrating to watch unfold. Because Duffy is a citizen of the Osage Nation and the alleged incident happened on tribal land, the case didn't stay with local Owasso police. It went to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review under federal law. That process takes time. Duffy, meanwhile, was already gone, a fugitive from the moment the allegation surfaced, according to police. So what was the motive for what happened on July 23rd? Investigators haven't released a detailed motive statement, but the timeline speaks for itself. Duffy was accused of molesting a child. He fled. His estranged wife secured a protective order against him. And then she went public to tens of thousands of people, accusing him of being a pedophile less than 2 weeks before his death. For a man already evading a federal investigation, that kind of public exposure may have felt like the walls closing in. The video wasn't quiet. It wasn't vague. It named him indirectly in front of an audience that would only grow as it spread. That's speculation, and it's worth saying so plainly. What we know for certain is the sequence: allegation, protective order, public accusation, then violence. What we don't know, and may never know for sure, is exactly what pushed Duffy to do what police believe he did that night. There's also the matter of Sara's first husband, Lyle Landers, who has spoken to outlets since her death. He says he spent years urging her to leave the relationship with Duffy. His account paints a picture of someone who saw red flags long before the rest of the world did. Someone who watched from the outside, worried, and wasn't able to change the outcome. That's often how these cases work. The people closest to a victim frequently see the danger building well before it becomes public. Family members, ex-partners, even co-workers sometimes carry a version of, "I tried to warn her long after it's too late to matter." Whether or not that could have changed anything here is impossible to know. But it's part of the emotional wreckage this case leaves behind. Duffy is dead. There will be no trial for him, no jury, no verdict. The case closes not with accountability, but with 2 bodies and a lot of unanswered questions. Here's where the story takes a turn that a lot of viewers won't see coming. The protective order Sara secured wasn't just a routine legal filing. Court records reportedly show that when she went to a judge, she described more than fear of physical violence. She said that once Duffy was confronted about the molestation allegations, he threatened suicide and then went on the run. That detail reframes the entire timeline. This wasn't a man quietly avoiding scrutiny. According to Sara's own account to the court, weeks before the murder-suicide, he was already expressing suicidal intent the moment he was confronted. Police said Duffy hadn't been seen since fleeing after the June incident, meaning for over a month. An accused child predator, who had reportedly threatened to kill himself, was unaccounted for by law enforcement, while the woman he was married to lived under a protective order that only extended 100 yards. There's also the pattern police flagged in their statement, that Duffy's alleged conduct toward the same child had occurred repeatedly, across jurisdictions, in multiple states, over an extended period. If accurate, that raises hard questions about whether earlier reports, wherever they happened, were ever meaningfully investigated, and whether a paper trail existed that could have flagged him sooner. None of this excuses or confirms anything Duffy is accused of beyond what's been publicly reported. But it does turn a tragic story into a system failure story. A federal jurisdiction handoff that takes time. A protective order that only works if it's enforced. A suicide threat that apparently didn't trigger the intervention it maybe should have. Investigators haven't announced any additional developments beyond the murder-suicide finding. But community members and true crime followers alike have started asking the obvious question. At what point between June 9th and July 23rd could someone have stepped in? As of now, there will be no courtroom in this case. No arraignment. No verdict. Jeremiah Duffy is dead, and with him goes any possibility of the molestation allegations being tested in a criminal trial. The federal review that Owasso police initiated when they referred the case to the U.S. Attorney's Office effectively ends with his death. There's no one left to prosecute. Sara Gilson's case is being treated as a murder, but there's no one left to charge for it either. That's the uncomfortable truth at the center of so many domestic violence homicides. The system built to hold someone accountable simply runs out of road when the accused doesn't survive. What's left behind is a family trying to grieve in public. A fundraiser was set up for Sara's children, describing her as a devoted mother whose entire world revolved around them. Her son, who made that second 911 call, was briefly placed in protective custody before being released to a parent who had no connection to what happened that night. Her daughter is left to grow up with a story that millions of strangers already know before she's old enough to process it herself. Community reaction has been swift. The video Sara posted on July 11th has been watched, shared, and dissected online. Not because people wanted a spectacle, but because so many recognized something familiar in it. A woman trying to protect herself and her children the only way she felt she could. Publicly, loudly, on the record. If there's a lesson here, it isn't really a twist. It's something advocates have said for years, and it bears repeating every time a case like this happens. A protective order is a piece of paper. It matters, but it isn't a wall. Public warnings help build awareness, but they don't replace fast, coordinated action from the people with the power to intervene. Sara Gilson did almost everything right. She reported what she learned. She got the protective order. She spoke publicly, and it still wasn't enough to save her. So here's the question worth sitting with. When someone tells you, publicly or privately, that they're afraid, what does it actually take for that warning to be believed in time? Sara Gilson wanted to be heard. In the end, millions heard her, just days too late to help her. Rest in peace, Sara. Your children are loved. Your voice mattered. What do you think could have changed the outcome here? Let me know in the comments.